All right, hello, welcome. This video we're going to review for the Chapter 2 test. Just going to go through a bunch of questions with you. It is imperative that you do these questions and not just watch me go through the answers. Right, so I would have out a notebook. I would be thinking through the questions, pause the video, and then unpause it to check your answers. So here's your first two questions. All right, again, try them, and then I'll be back with you shortly. All right, so evaluates to 4. So the percent symbol again means mod or remainder. So this is a remainder when we divide 6 by 2, which is just 0. So that's not going to be 4 because 2 divides evenly into 6. Here, 5 into 19, I think, let's see, that would be 4 because you would have 3 5s to give you 15, and then you would have 4 left over. So that one would evaluate to 4. This one also, I think, because it's technically 4.333333, but in Java, when you do integers like this, it just truncates, so that would be 4. Last one would be 3.75, but Java is not going to round. Again, it truncates, so it's just going to chop this off, and so that one is not right. So B and C both would evaluate to 4. All right, so the value of A and B at the end of this code. So the way this works on a computer is you have a little bucket that represents both A and B values, and then it'll go line by line and change those values. So after this first line, A is 22, and there's nothing in the B bucket. In fact, the B bucket doesn't even exist at this point in the computer's mind. Then this line runs, and now B is 11. It's going to set A bucket to be whatever A plus B is. So A is going to be what it was before, 22 plus 11. So it's going to overwrite the A bucket, and now it's 33. Now it does plus plus A, so that's just going to make A increase by 1 more than it was before, so now we're at 34. And now this is going to take A and multiply it by 2 and restore it in A. So it's going to take whatever A was. Basically, the longhand of this is A is going to become A times 2. So you're just going to take 34 times 2 and 68. Okay, so at the end of the code, A would be 68 and B would be 11. All right, I'm just going to keep firing questions at you. Here's your next one. Again, pause the video before giving this a shot, or before watching the answer. Okay, so this is from the Java API, how it works. And so this just means that this method is called log10, and it returns a double type. Okay, and input into it, you're going to have to input another double. All right, so if we want to do the log base 10 of 1,000, I'm just going to call the math class, so uppercase M, math dot log base 10, and then we input the 1,000. Okay, and you can do it as an int like that. If you want to put a .0 on the end, that'd work fine too, but it will convert this into a double. Okay, and then we've got to store it. So I'm on this side, I'm going to make a new double because the return type is double. And I'm going to call it, well, it says whatever you want. So I'm going to call it answer or something. Right? So this will compute the log base 10 of 1,000 and then store it in the variable named answer. Right? So again, on your computer, you'll have a little bucket that is answer, and its value will be, I think in this case, 3, because the log base 10 of 1,000 is 3. Okay, again, pause the video and then unpause once you have your answer. All right, those are some poor buckets, but we are going to have a J bucket and a K bucket, and I would go line by line just like the computer does. So J is going to start off at 10, boom. Then K is going to be 8, check that off. This line will say take whatever J was before and add 2, so that is now 12. This line is a little goofy, but it's going to say K is going to be whatever K was before plus J. So it's going to update K with whatever K was before and add J to it. So it's plus equals J. So add K and J and then store it in K. So if I add those two together, it'd be 12 and 8. So now this will update to 20. Right, and now we're just going to print them out. So we're going to print out J first. So that's going to be 12. Then it's going to print a space. And then it's going to print K, which is 20. So this should be letter E, 12, 20. Okay, looks like this one didn't fit. So consider the following code segment. All right, which of the following best describes the behavior of the code segment? All right, so pause the video, give it a shot. Okay, so this is kind of a tricky one because they don't tell us what X and Y are initially, right? They're not even telling us that. So what I did is I just read through the answer choices one at a time until I found one that made the most sense. So Z, we're not really being set to 2. It's adding 2 to whatever Z is at this point, this last line. So it's not setting it to 2. It's definitely not setting it to X. It does that initially here, but then it starts to change Z in these next two lines. That's not true. And then for this one, I was like 1 divided by 2. So there's not a 1 at all in this question, right? And what it's actually doing is it's dividing Z by Y here, right? So that's not true. And then I think it's going to be D. So what happens is it sets Z to be whatever X is. So on this line here, Z is X. So it's going to take X and divide that by Y and store that in Z. So Z is now overwritten with what it used to be, which was X, and divide it by Y. And then it's going to do all that calculations on this line right here. And then at the end of that, it's going to add 2. Right? It's going to do Z plus equal 2. So Z at this point is this expression, but then we add 2 to it, giving us D. Okay, and then E is just kind of close, but the add 2 comes at the very end. And so it'll have already done the division calculation, and then it'll add 2 at the end. So best answer there is D. Okay, so strings. This is a hard part of this test, and honestly, you have to know how these string methods work. All right. I feel like if you don't know these, it's a lot of points on the test. So make sure that you figure out what are these going to be. If you would print out these different calls to using this string and str, what would happen? Okay, pause the video, give it a shot. Okay, so for this, I strongly encourage you to make a grid like this, where each letter is given a position or an index, starting with index 0. All right, and then this one has 12 letters, so we go from 0 to 11. The length method is kind of normal, where even though we index 0 to 11, it just says how many letters, including spaces and stuff we have, even though there's no spaces here, but if there was, they would be included. So this is just length of 12. Substring that goes from index 2 to 7. Okay, so this is a little weird because it runs one past and doesn't actually count the letter that's at the 7th spot. So it's actually going to be just the P-I-D-I-C-O. All right, and the L, no, not the last O, sorry. All right, because it runs one pass, so the 7th one does not count there. There's a second type of substring that takes in just one parameter or one number here, and it's going to take from that position all the way to the end. So we don't specify an ending spot like we did previously. We just want to go all the way to the end. So this one's going to return from C on, so C-O-L-O-U-S. Okay, index of is going to take where does this string, what's the index where the first occurrence of this substring is. So we're saying where's the first O, and that's going to return 7 in this case because our first O appears at 7. Remember, if index of, if it doesn't find it, like if we did index of walrus or something, that returns -1 if it doesn't find it. So just remember that. And then the last one is actually kind of a trick question. This one's going to be an error, all right? Because when you do the substring with the two numbers, they have to be numbers, not strings. So if you put double quotes around them, it'll treat them as strings, and then it'll say, well, I don't know how to find a substring if I'm going from a string to a string. So that's going to return an error. All right, that's it for our review. All right, and then the final thing, that's the end of this video, I guess. The final part is this Kahoot, right? So it's going to go over strings a little bit more with you, and so there should be information out on Schoology in our folder on how to play this Kahoot. It's going to be played asynchronously, meaning you can kind of play it whenever you have the time, but it'll be one more thing to help you be ready for the test. All right, thank you for watching.